Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and Restless official. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Adam entered the jazz lounge and picked up a noisemaker from a table. You know how those work, don't you? You just put your lips together and blow, Sally quoted. Adam recalled that Lauren Bacall had spoken the line, and Sally cited To Have and Have Not as being one of her favorite movies. Adam invited Sally to show him how it was done, and she exuberantly tooted the horn. He joked that she'd clearly been practicing. Adam asked if Sally was there to celebrate New Year's Eve with champagne and confetti. She clucked that he should know her better than that, and he acknowledged that she'd never do something that traditional. Sally admitted that she'd watched the ball drop on television, but she'd been restless, so she'd gone down there. Adam reported that it had pretty much been the same thing for him, and he called them a sad pair. She observed that he seemed in good spirits. I am now, he replied. Adam offered to buy her a drink for Auld Lang Syne. Adam marveled that he and Sally were drinking champagne like a normal New Year's Eve. They fondly recalled their first New Year's Eve together, when she'd adhered to his rules by getting decorations for every other holiday but that one. Adam commended her for finding a loophole. Sally argued that neither of them was big on doing what other people did, yet neither of them had wanted to spend New Year's Eve alone. Not then and not now, Adam affirmed. Adam suggested that he and Sally turn back the clock to just before midnight. He figured it was klitsch to ring in the year with a crowd and noise, but they almost had the place to themselves. She lauded him for finding another loophole, and they raised their glasses and counted down from 10. They wished one another a happy new year, clinked their glasses together, and sipped. Adam pointed out that they were missing one thing for a traditional New Year's Eve: the kiss. Sally warned that Adam was pushing it, and he defended that he couldn't help himself where she was concerned. She leaned over and kissed his cheek, and he considered it fair enough. He added that the evening didn't count as the date she'd agreed to, and he didn't think they'd had it yet. Sally pointed out that they'd had one dinner and a lunch, and Adam wondered if it meant they were dating. Not yet, she responded, and she gently scolded him for continuing to push. Adam chalked it up to the excitement of actually celebrating New Year's Eve, and he toasted to new beginnings and opportunities. Sally declared that she was excited for 2024, since her business was ready to take off, and she was finally feeling like her old self. He was glad to hear she'd gotten her Spectra energy back, and he anticipated that it would be a great year for him, too. Adam enthused that his relationship with his father was good, and he thought he and Sally were on the cusp of a really great second act. Nick arrived at Crimson Lights and asked if it was too late for a cup of coffee. Sharon chirped that it wasn't for him, but she intended to shut the place down afterward. She rambled about how it was one of the busiest nights of the year, and she said she didn't know what she would have done without Esther. Esther wished Sharon had let her handle it alone, noting that the owner of a big company shouldn't be slinging coffee and cookies on New Year's Eve. As Esther fetched Nick's coffee, Sharon voiced surprise that Nick wasn't at the ranch, celebrating with his family. He groaned that it had been a rough few days, and Esther asked if everyone was okay. Sharon urged Esther to go home after being on her feet for hours, and Esther offered to put up the closed sign on her way out. After Esther left, Sharon implored Nick to tell her what had happened. Sharon sympathized about everything Nick had gone through, and she inquired about how Victoria was holding up after finding out her daughter hadn't died. Nick imagined the emotional toll it had taken on Victoria to try to reconnect with a daughter who'd been taught to hate her mom her entire life. Sharon predicted that with time, patience, and the right therapy, Claire would eventually get past her anger and see her parents in a new light. Nick wished Sharon could be their therapist. Sharon was confident that Claire was getting top-notch psychiatric care at Memorial. Nick praised Sharon for having a gift for helping people through tough times as a therapist and a friend. She volunteered to be there for him as a friend, noting that he'd been looking after everyone when he'd been through a trauma himself. He reported that his knife wound was healing, and the only thing he was worried about was helping his family get through it. Sharon stressed that he didn't have to go through it alone. At the athletic club, Cole suggested he and Victoria order some bubbly, since they'd missed the countdown, and it might be a way to take their minds off the day. Victoria bemoaned that she wasn't in the mood after getting Claire settled in. Cole regretted that their daughter had been through hell and back, and he vowed to do everything they could to keep Claire safe. Victoria wondered how much more one person could take, and she worried that Claire was slipping further away. Victoria wondered if Claire had just been through too much after decades of brainwashing and then having her aunt turn completely against her. Cole was glad that Jordan was out of their lives, and he applauded Nikki for saving herself and their daughter. Victoria hated to think about what would have happened if Nikki hadn't fought so hard, and she considered what it had been like for Claire to have her aunt try to kill her. Cole intended to let Claire know she wasn't alone because she had them. Victoria thought she and Cole had to accept that there was no way of making up for what they'd lost with Claire, and they just had to move forward. Cole agreed, adding that all that really mattered was taking care of Claire. Victoria appreciated Cole for being such a positive force for her and helping her stay focused on what was important, their daughter. She marveled at what a way it had been for them to reconnect after not seeing one another in a long time. "Too long," he replied. Cole figured they'd never gotten over losing baby Eve, and he couldn't help but think about how different things might have been if Jordan hadn't taken their daughter. In the psychiatric facility, Claire silently thought to herself that it was where she lived and might always live, with no one to believe in or trust. Claire remembered that Jordan had said it had been them against the world, but her aunt had lied and saved herself, leaving Claire to take the fall at the lake house. Claire's thoughts shifted to Jordan breaking her out of the mental facility to try to kill her, and she reasoned that maybe it had been what she'd deserved. Claire told herself that Victoria and Cole had said she was theirs, but she'd seen the fear in their eyes, which wasn't and would never be love. Claire thought to herself that she would always be no one and nothing. Claire believed she was a monster in Cole and Victoria's eyes, and she couldn't see that look anymore, so she had to keep them away. She pledged not to let the doctors or her parents get close, and she resolved to stop calling Cole and Victoria that because they weren't her dad and mom. Claire recognized that Cole and Victoria might have died, and she was the one who had almost helped kill them. She surmised that they wanted a sweet, perfect baby girl and not her, since she was no one. Claire wallowed in the thought that they could never love her, and she could never love them. At the Newman Ranch, a despondent Nikki approached the bar and found it empty. Victor put his arm around her and explained that he'd removed the temptation. Nikki was mad that he'd had to protect her from herself, but she was also grateful. She confided that she didn't think she would make it that time. Victor offered to get Nikki some tea to help her sleep. She wailed that she didn't want to sleep, since she'd only have nightmares of Jordan. Victor suggested they stay up and watch the sun rise, and Nikki remembered doing that when they had been much younger. Victor proposed that they play chess or tell one another stories, but Nikki remarked that they already knew one another's stories. Victor assured her that he could never hear enough of her stories, and he would do anything to help her get through that night and each one thereafter. She called him her rock and mused that she didn't know what she'd do without him.